everyone. Thank you so much, Dylan. So I'm incredibly honored to be here with you all today at this event. I want to actually ask us to just take a few seconds because it's been a very full couple of days already, and just breathe. So if you want to join with me in just like taking a collective deep breath in. Just allow ourselves to arrive here in this space, this incredible gift that GreenBiz has offered us. It's really quite amazing. So I do existential change management. And why do I say existential? And why do I call what I do change management? Because truly everything that I do and everything that you do actually goes to the heart of what it means to be a human being. If you think about it, every aspect of what you all do and what we've been talking about has to do with who we are as humans and what does it mean to be a human right now and what does it mean to be a human in the future. So it's really nothing less than that. And I'm inviting us to really step into that because I think it's been sort of missing. Like we get really pulled into the technical and the political and the economic, but really it's change management. So when I thought about this talk and what I'm asking of myself in this moment and what I'm asking of you in this moment is to really reflect on how we are showing up in this work. How are we showing up in this work? And as a psychologist, I am going to ask us to do some self-reflection for the next several minutes. So I'm going to start by sharing some of my own story as a bit of a guide into kind of how I have navigated this question of how to show up in this time of existential change management. So when I was growing up, I was very sensitive to what was going on in the family. And when my dad was having a hard time, I would leave little notes for him in his briefcase that would say things like, "You got this," or "I believe in you," or "I'm proud of you." So what I was doing is I was taking it on myself to be a bit of a cheerleader, right? I'm like, if I can inspire my dad, he will get through his problems. So I tried out being a cheerleader, and what I found is that doesn't necessarily work, right? Like, it's not necessarily on me to try to cheer or inspire or motivate to help someone. Went to college, learned about environmental issues. Like many of us, felt totally alarmed and freaked out. Signed up to be a canvasser, went door to door. Any of you do that? Trying to convince people to care about these issues and basically saying why this is the right thing to do, writing. I got burnt out very fast. I won't tell you how long I lasted canvassing, but it was very short. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to graduate school. I'm going to get a PhD. I'm going to become a researcher, and I'm going to educate people. And so I did that, and I started getting commissions for like incredible research papers and landscape reports. And to me at that time, a white paper was like unbelievably exciting. So if I was asked to do a white paper, I'd be like, oh my God, this is incredible. Did a lot of them at some big global NGOs with lots of stakeholders, and actually found out, you know what? That was not leading to the change that I was going for. It was very intense. It was a real soul-searching moment for me. So I ended up going into a training around 2015 called a training about something called motivational interviewing. That's actually a methodology in the public health sector that very few of us know about, which is the most evidence-based approach to behavior change that exists. I was in a room full of clinicians and doctors. I was the only non-clinical person, the only one from the climate and environmental sector. And everyone was there to learn how to help people change. And it was incredibly humbling because I realized along with this group that I had to unlearn everything I thought I knew about change. And I am a psychologist, okay? So there we were having to learn that it's not about educating. I'm sorry, that's not necessarily what's gonna get us there. It's not necessarily about inspiring and motivating people. It's not necessarily about scaring and pressuring people or telling them why they have to quit smoking because it's the right thing to do. That does not work. But what works is something called guiding. Guiding comes out of motivational interviewing. And I realized that I had to learn how to be a guide. And it's actually really hard. I'm a pushy person. If any of you know or have worked with me, I can be very intense. And I think a lot of us in this room are very passionate and very committed, and we tend to lead with that energy. So guiding is about how to be a change maker, how to be a helper, a healer, a servant leader, but really from the point of view of how to guide versus push. And that's really the journey I've been on and that I'm inviting us into. So I want to take us on a quick tour around what does it mean to be a guide. And this is going to be a little quick now, so bear with me. One of the key things about guiding is that you have to have the courage and humility to interrogate our theories of change, right? You have to be willing to say, am I doing this right? What is BSI all that there is? You know, is messaging all that there is? So I'm going to give you a tour of the movement in 60 seconds. Get ready. Okay. 1970s, 1980s, the focus was very much on behavioral science, behavioral economics, nudging, incentives, levers, motivating. All of that language comes out of behavioral economics. Very much dominated the space. Messaging came online in the 90s, all about the messaging, all about the language, all about the framing, storytelling, narrative. Became a messaging problem, became the messaging theory of change. 2000s, IDEO, thank you for those of you here from IDEO, really introduced design thinking to scale for social issues. Paul Hawken, design thinking, systems thinking came on board, and that has really dominated the space. So that's where we really focus on using accelerators, incubators, design thinking, innovation, tech, speed, and scale, obviously influenced by the tech sector and the innovation sector, startups, all of that. That's a huge theory of change. And what's been happening more recently, I mean, I've been at this about 30 years, but it's now happening more, where we're recognizing that this work is actually about relationships. It's about trust. It's about how we're feeling. It's about how we're experiencing these issues. And that if we skip that, if we bypass that, all of this amazing work, which frankly is all incredibly needed and powerful, is actually not effective. It's not going to get us there. So this is sort of like this ingredient in the mix. And so what I want to invite us to think about is how 2023 is the year of integration. I want to challenge us all to integrate our theories of change, which is a kind of innovation that is on equal par to any kind of software development that there is. This is where the traction is. We are humans. We have to get this right. So what does this mean practically? And again, this is going to seem maybe a little fast, but just go with me here. What it means is really tuning into what I call the 3 A's, which is anxiety, ambivalence, and aspiration. Because if you start listening and talking with people, you're going to hear some anxiety. You're going to hear ambivalence, which is dilemmas. That's the big headline. Dilemmas. I want to do this. I don't want to do this. I feel stuck. I feel pulled. We have to be really good at understanding and listening for ambivalence, because guiding is about navigating through ambivalence. It's about leading people through. And aspiration is where we all want to live 100% of the time. And we have to learn how to temper and kind of tap into the aspirations. So again, in the spirit of integration, I also want to invite us to think about the lens of education and see if we can think of it more as about engagement, right? Because I've been hearing a lot about we have to educate people. Well, really, we have to engage people. What does it mean? What are some takeaways as far as how you can start guiding? I'm going to go through this quickly because I'm out of time. But first off is about having compassion for yourself. I know that might come as a surprise, but it's really important to have compassion for yourself as a change maker, because you can't extend that compassion to anyone else unless you have it for yourself. We have to have the courage and ability to self-reflect, to really look at ourselves and see this as part of this work and not as a waste of time. We want to honor all of these parts of ourselves, okay? There's nothing wrong with these, but what I'm wanting us to consider is how to grow into the guiding mode. And to really sort of accept this moment of existential change management and really see this as a collective moment that we have as a community to live and lead from our best and highest selves. So we have to ask deeper questions and take the time to really listen for what comes. This is about slowing down. It's about paying attention to the relationships that we have and really embodying the spirit of guiding, which is really about love. It's about resilience, and it's about presence. And I know that we can do this, but we actually really need to do it together. This is not a solo job. We've got to come together and support each other. So I hope that this sparks some vulnerable conversations and connection amongst this community. And as you go out from this conference tomorrow, take some of this with you into your conversations. And I know that we can do this. So thank you so much.